Hello everybody and welcome to Healthy Isolation with Professor Luke. Today we are in session 10 and we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks. These are things that I've found helpful to me. They might be helpful to you, they might not. The first issue that I'd like to cover is to talk about medicine. Giving your kid medicine is going to be one of the things that you do the most, and it is one of the things that can be really annoying if you have younger children or kids who don't really cooperate very well when it comes to medicine. My son, when he got sick the first time, he was 3.5, and trying to get a 3.5-year-old to drink medicine every day is a really difficult thing. One of the best things that we found was that we used a teacup to give him medicine, and we called it white tea, bai cha. And when he was in kindergarten, one of his favorite things to do was to drink tea with his little friends. And so we got this tea set, and we brought this cup for giving him medicine. And so we'll put all of his powdered medicines in there, mix it with water, and we'll have tea. And, it's like, here, have your tea, ganbei. And he would drink it a lot more cooperatively if we did that. And so if you have young children, that might be an option. Another thing that I've found to be helpful is that we would play a drinking game when it comes to medicine. I have vitamins in here, and he has his medicine, and so he'll take one medicine and I'll take one vitamin, and he'll take one medicine and I'll take one vitamin. And so I have got calcium pills and what else for others, the DHA, and it just a vitamin C, these kind of things for me. And so when he's taking his medicine, I'm taking my medicine, and he feels like it's fair in that way. And so sometimes we'll even have a competition to see who can finish all of the medicine first. And he sometimes enjoys that. Sometimes he doesn't cooperate, but usually when we use these two methods, medicine is not as big of a deal. Another thing about giving medicine I've found to be useful is allowing. Sometimes there's a medicine that's important but not really important, and sometimes I just allow him not to take it. One time there was a medicine that he was supposed to take and he refused to take it, and I said, okay, fine, if you don't take it, you're just going to get a stomachache. And so he didn't take it. And a couple hours later, he's like, I got a stomachache. I was like, yeah, you didn't take your medicine. He's like, I'll take my medicine now. I was like, okay. And it takes a strong heart to be able to do that. And also takes knowing what medicines you can do that with and which medicines you can't. But sometimes allowing them to suffer the consequences of not taking the medicine is one of the best ways for them to learn. Another thing that I've found to be helpful is to save calcium until the end. The calcium is usually sweet. If you buy a sweeter kind, you get the little kind that has a little bit of a sweet flavor to it. And so that can be a reward for finishing all the other medicines. And so they don't have any candy in here, and it's the closest thing that they can get to candy. And so it is a motivator. It's probably the sweetest thing that they get to eat while they're in here. So keep that in mind as you're giving medicine. Medicine is a continual battle, and you have to find creative ways to fight it. If you fight stupidly, you'll be defeated. All right, you have to be a master strategist when it comes to giving medicine, don't make any promises you can't deliver on. My parents tried to suggest using an incentive board, and every time you take your medicine, you get a sticker or something like that. I know my kid. If I say, okay, if you take the medicine, and you'll get a sticker, and then when you get 10 stickers, you'll get some kind of toy. He'll say, I don't want the sticker. I just don't want to take the medicine, and he won't take it. And then I have to force him to take it, and then we have a bigger fight. And so we didn't do that. But if that works for you, if that'll work for your kid, that's a great idea. But be creative when it comes to taking your medicine. The next issue, the next thing that I'd like to cover is some tips and tricks regarding habits. There are some things that are very, very inconvenient in here, like waking your child up at 6 o'clock in the morning to put them on the scale, see how much they weigh, and then put them back in the bed, measure their tummy, and make them pee, or make them pee before you measure their tummy. All right? My kid has never liked waking up early, and in here our sleep schedule is completely messed up because we have no window, and so he sleeps later, but he still has to get up at 6 a.m. and he is not a happy person when he has to wake up at 6 a.m. And so what I found, one of the things that's been really helpful for me is to, instead of putting him on the scale and making him stand there, because we had some major fights on that one, that he refused to stand there. He'd stomp on it and just screaming, and I lost it with him. I hit his little butt, because he wasn't cooperating, and it's something that we needed to do, that was required for us to do. And there were a couple of days like that, and I said, I can't handle this. And I told my wife, and she said, well, have you tried just picking him up, and then you subtract your weight from his weight, from the weight of both of you, so you weigh you and him, you carrying him, and then you weigh yourself, and you subtract your weight from the total. I thought, no, I haven't done that. And I tried it, and it's much, much more successful than trying to get him to stand on the scale at 6 o'clock in the morning. Then once that was done, the measuring the belly part was not too much more difficult. He usually has to go to the bathroom at that time anyway, and so measuring his tummy is not too much more difficult after that. Sleep. Another thing is sleep. If you're in a room with no windows, there's no time. All right, so don't stress out. I was like, oh, it's 12 o'clock. My kid needs to go to sleep. Not really. All right, because there's no windows. It's not like his body knows what time it is. There's no clock. There's no schedule, other than waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but you can go back to sleep after that, and so I don't stress about the sleep thing, that he's waking up later or going to bed later, waking up later. Until we get out of here, it doesn't really matter, and so don't sweat the small stuff. Another thing is iPad use. Now, my son is 6 years old at this point, and we don't generally let him use the iPad at all. He can use it when he comes to the hospital. So it makes coming to the hospital kind of a special thing, but we don't generally let him use the iPad at home. And in here, one of the things about the iPad is that you're not allowed to bring a case. You can't have the and so I that makes me really nervous, and for good reason, because a couple days in, he dropped the iPad, and I picked it up, and it was dead, and so I sent it out and tried to see if we could fix it, and we did successfully fix it and bring it back. And then about another week later, I heard that sound again, clunk, And I went back in and I looked at it, and guess what? It was dead again. And it's not because he wasn't being careful, it's because he's a kid, all right? And that he's got a device that's sensitive, and he's got nowhere to go, and so it just fell off the bed, you know. And now if I could go back in time, I see my neighbor has this stand that hooks onto the edge of the bed, and it's got like a neck that will hold the iPad so that the kid doesn't need to touch it. If I had known I could bring something like that in, I definitely would have done it and saved the life of my iPad. But I didn't, and I didn't know that I could bring that in. Nobody mentioned that. But if you do come in here, or if you are in here, apparently they do allow it if you bring it before it starts. And so I would highly recommend that you get one of these things that hooks onto the edge of the bed, that the child doesn't need to actually touch the iPad. Let's see, what else? One more thing about habits is my cleaning habit. Cleaning is a drudgery. It's something you do every day. But I've found a way to make my cleaning habit a little bit less monotonous. Is what I'll do is I'll clean his room, then I'll come out and I'll do a workout. I'll do a little bit of exercise, and then I'll clean the ceiling. And then I'll do a little bit more exercise, and then I'll clean one wall. And then I'll do a little bit more, and I'll clean another wall, and another little bit more, and another wall, and then the other wall. And then I'll do one more set of exercises, and then I'll clean the floor, and then go take my shower and clean the bathroom. That makes cleaning the room a little bit less boring. It takes a little bit longer, but it's also a lot healthier for you, and for you emotionally, for you physically, that you get some physical activity while you're in here, because otherwise you're just laying on the bed all day, or running back and forth to the bathroom taking care of your kid. Moving on from that, the next area that I would like to talk about is food. All right, now the problem with food in here is that everything that comes in needs to be microwaved for 5 minutes. Why is that a problem? Because once you microwave almost anything for 5 minutes, it tastes like dirt. And so getting your kid to eat is a major problem. I've found that this is a great opportunity for me to diet, and because the food doesn't taste good anyway, and so I have this protein powder that I'll drink. I'll have one protein powder for breakfast, one protein powder for dinner, and then eat one meal in the middle of the day, and that kind of keeps me functioning, keeps me healthy, but I don't have to eat the nasty microwave food 3 times a day. And I've lost 10 kilos since I've been in here. If you need to diet, if you need to lose weight, this is a great time to do it. And so this is the way that I've found to be very, very effective. For your kid, don't be surprised if they don't like the food, all right? Because it doesn't taste good microwaved for that length of time. There's not much that does. If you can find something that your kid enjoys, or that your kid will at least eat, go with it, all right? Don't worry about them, whether they eat it till they don't eat it anymore. At least they're eating something. With my son, putting honzal in things, like the red dates in things, made him eat a lot better. whether it's Joel or whatever, that there's a little bit of sweetness in it that he can eat that will induce him to eat. My wife, I was really upset that he just wasn't eating. He wasn't eating. And my wife said, according to the statistics for the other parents, you're actually doing really well. There are some who do better than our kid, but for the most part, he actually ate pretty well when he's been in here. And so, but you have to keep trying until you can find something that your kid will eat. It's really stressful, food, especially when you bring in food and they won't eat it. You know that they like this food, but because of the way that you have to prepare it, it just doesn't taste the same and it doesn't taste as good to them, and they just refuse. Medication also takes away their appetite some of the time. They just don't feel like eating. And so if you have that struggle, keep trying and see if you can find something that they will eat. If you can, great. If you can't, that you'll have to do the IV bag, but keep working at it, okay? Let's see. Oh, one more thing about food is having secret snacks, all right? Secret snacks are for you, not for your kid, but have something that will help you to boost your energy. I mentioned this in one of the other sessions. Having something in the room that you can secretly go to when you need an energy boost. I've got a little can of nuts as well as some mints and a couple of chocolates that I've been able to get in. I don't know. My wife tried to send in more and it got stopped by the IE, and so you have to be careful. But if you can get some secret snacks in here that will help you to boost your energy when you need it, that's something that's very, very valuable. Third issue about tips and tricks is the temperature. When I first came in here, it was warm outside, and so they had the air conditioner going, and it was freezing. I was literally shivering in my bed the first couple nights, and so I would highly recommend that you bring a sweatshirt that you can wear in the event of being cold. But as time went on, it started getting colder outside, and they turned on the heater. Well, then my room was too hot and I was suffocating in here, and so make sure that you also have clothes that are thin enough that if it's too hot that you can wear them. You can see this one is pretty thin that I'm wearing today, and sometimes it's just right, that it's not too hot and not too cold. That's the hope, but you don't have much control over the temperature control, and so make sure that you prepare. That you've got a sweatshirt that you can wear, you've got something thin that you can wear just in the event that it's too hot or too cold for you. The last issue of tips and tricks that I'd like to share with you is talking about nurses. You're going to be dealing with a lot of nurses during this time, and each nurse has a different kind of personality, and it really pays to pay attention to the personalities of the nurses that are helping you. There are some nurses who are rule nurses. Rule nurses, you just have to follow the rule, all right? And rule nurses are the nurses that if it's time for them to jaoban and you still haven't peed yet, they will come and they will give you the medicine to make you pee before they get off the clock, so that they can say yes, right? You know, they have peed enough. And these nurses, sometimes at night, they're a little bit more difficult to deal with, you know, because of the way that they do things. They'll come in, flick the light on, do their thing, and leave, you know, and it's hard, you know. It doesn't feel very good sometimes, but that is their personality. That's the way that they do things, and it's efficient, it's quick, it gets the job done. Then you have other kind of nurses who are casual nurses. Casual nurses are kind of the opposite of the rule nurses. Casual nurses are like, whatever, you know, and they'll come in and they'll hit the buttons on the machine and walk away, and 5 seconds later the machine will start beeping again, and you call them back and they'll come in. It's like, oh, I forgot to hit start. All right, you know, and hold on. And so casual nurses, you really need to kind of pay attention to what they're doing, making sure that you double check the information. Every time the nurse comes in, they'll confirm the child's name and the child's number and all that information. This is a good thing. All right, it's a good thing. It's for your benefit. And so make sure that you confirm with them and also check carefully the information. The third kind of nurse that you will meet in here are kind nurses. Not to say that if you're a rule nurse you can't be a kind nurse, or if you're a casual nurse you can't be a kind nurse, but a kind nurse is a different thing. A kind nurse is somebody who goes out of their way to help you, and that they try their best to make you comfortable, which is not their job. All right, that's not their job. But there are some nurses who really do their best to work with you, whether it's, you know, a polite knock on the door before they come in, or taking their break time to come in and to talk with your kid and to, you know, just be happy with them, and to make them happy. And nurses don't have to do that. All right, that's not in their job description. They don't get paid any extra to do it. But when they do it, really show your appreciation for it. Show gratitude for any kindnesses that you receive. There's this one time when one of the rule nurses who really kind of got on my nerves when I first came in, helped us out and showed real kindness for our family, and I really appreciated it. I really saw her heart, and so when you're in here and somebody does something that maybe irritates you, or maybe does something that you don't like, also remember that there are people that have real kindness, and that we need to treat them with respect. One thing on that, if you need the nurse, push the button on the computer. Don't shout down the hallway. I hear parents doing this all the time. They instead of pushing the button, they open the door and start screaming down the hallway. Push the button. The nurse will come. All right. It's, you know, don't worry about that too much. I know that sometimes you feel like it's an emergency, has to come now, but but push the button. The nurse will be there very, very shortly, okay? If you learn from these tips and tricks, you will have a much happier and healthier time in isolation. Think of the nurses as your partners in this, that they are here and that they are part of your team and that they are helping you. All right, they are working towards your good, and so we need to also treat them well as well. Okay? All right. Good luck to you. It has been a pleasure sharing this time with you, and I hope that you come out of isolation happier and healthier than when you came in. Okay? See you next time. No, I won't. That's the last time. I won't see you next time, but you can watch them again. All right, bye.